Welcome back to Start of Play Football. Hope you're all good. Enjoying the Euros, all of that stuff. Before we get into the video, please, as always, make sure you subscribe, you like the video, you leave some comments as well. Give me your thoughts so far on the first week of the Euros. Obviously, we're going to talk about Germany. We're going to talk about Portugal scraping through the 2-2 Croatia and Albania last night. And obviously, the big games coming up today: England, Denmark, Italy, Spain. And talk about some other things away from the Euros as well. So let's just start with England. Let's just start with England, who played Denmark in just under 3 hours as I'm recording this. So as you know, currently Serbia, Slovenia playing at the moment. Big game in that group there that England is sharing with them. But let's go back to Gareth Southgate, who has probably got one of the best teams, if not the best teams, at the Euro competitions and still manages to play boring football. This is what Gareth Southgate's been doing for so long. How long? I can't remember. But he's got one of the best squads in the tournament. And against Serbia, I'm going to be honest, it was poor. We played well 15, 20 minutes of the game. But we were poor, man. Defensively poor. Attacking wise, there was no real threat. I mean, the goal was brilliant from Saka into Bellingham. But having Harry Kane drop so deep into that midfield, and I've said this, I think, even in the Euros in 2021, the World Cup as well, and that's Harry Kane's thing. He's been doing that before, even before he went to Bayern Munich and when he was at Spurs. But for him to be playing the way he's playing, it's a problem because when we go forward in attack, the options are very few and far between. And that's a massive worry for me. When we play certain teams, maybe if we get through to the knockout stages and we're playing Portugal, Germany, Spain, France, whoever, you need someone like Harry Kane to be firing on all cylinders. And I remember, I think it was the 2021 Euros, the delayed one. I'm pretty sure he took a while to warm up in the tournament then as well. But with tournament football, you have to just be on it. You can't warm up into the games and give yourself 2 or 3 games because that third game could become irrelevant if you get knocked out of the group. So you have to be on it from day one. Like against Serbia, I expected to see a lot more from the team. The team that he went with, I agreed with it to an extent. I think it was always going to be Foden in that left side, the left channel. But we got to see it on during the game, the Sunday. Like he's probably that was the most impactful game I think I've watched of Phil Foden. And that's maybe the system, maybe the fact he's playing off the left. But let's be honest as well, Phil Foden wasn't the best. I think I think Gareth Southgate feels pressured to play him because of the fact that he's been called the best player of the season in the Premier League. But he wasn't the best player even at City for me. There's players above Phil Foden for me that would have easily won that player of the season in the Premier League. Now, is he the best English player we've got? Possibly, yeah, in terms of the 11 that started against Serbia. But if it isn't working, you got to change something. And Anthony Gordon's right there. Eze's right there. They're 2 players for me that can come in. Even Cole Palmer can play that left side. Because Phil Foden, more 10, put him in a 10, and he can do something. Put him on the left and he's isolated. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't have him playing on that left side with Kieran Trippier, who is going to cut in every given moment he gets the ball down that left side. He's going to want to cut in on his right foot. It's a problem down that left side. A massive, massive problem. So, big game tonight. I'm expecting to see a lot more from Gareth Southgate. Now, there is rumours coming out that Gareth Southgate is going to keep the same squad that he picked for Sunday's game. I've personally gone for a different squad. Not too different, but as I've just said what I've just said, you won't be surprised that I've gone with Anthony Gordon as the left side of that attack for me. I just think he's going to offer us a lot more going down that side. I do agree. And I said before with Carl Walker at right back. Look, Carl Walker's a very good defender. Now, the reason I think he's a good defender is because he's got pace. When you're a defender, if you've got pace, you can beat your player, you can get there ahead of them, you can win the ball, that recovery runs are better, then you're going to look better defensively. Now, is he defensively better than Trent? I don't think so. Is he better defensively than Reece James? I don't think so. Kieran Trippier? I don't think so. I just think he's got the pace. But in this game tonight against Denmark, I think he has to be in that right back position for me. Now, I've gone with obviously kept Jordan Pickford. I've kept the same back line with Trippier. Now, there has been confirmation, I think, in the Athletic today that Luke Shaw will miss the game against against Denmark. He's not going to be fit enough for it. Now, that is a concern for me. That is a massive concern for me because you had the opportunity to take Ben Chilwell. Now, whether he was fit, whatever, but you had the opportunity to take him. Now, if you're not going to take him and he's not fit enough, what is the point in playing him? What is the point in taking Luke Shaw to a tournament that he's not going to be able to be fit enough to play in? I don't get it. I don't get that. So, I think we need to evaluate that. We need to understand, if it is going to be Trippier, which it looks like it will be, the only natural left back we have in the squad, apart from Luke Shaw, who's out. Me personally, I just see it as a crazy decision, and mad that we've got all these amazing right backs, but we haven't got the same on the other side. Is crazy to me. But I think he'll go with that lineup there. I think Bellingham in midfield alongside Trent. Now, there was a lot of criticism aimed at Trent, I think, unfairly in the game on Sunday. I thought he had a really good game in midfield. Did he give the ball away a few times? I think he did. But when you're in a position which you're not naturally, he's not naturally a midfielder. We have to remember that he's not a good defender either. So he's in between a rock and a hard place because he's not a good defender, but he's also not naturally a midfielder. But he can still give you that service. He can pick out the passes from midfield. He can give you that one ball, quality ball through that Harry Kane can feed onto. So I'm hoping he can do that and show us a bit more of that. And Declan Rice, again, perfect performance on Sunday. We need a repeat of that. I was impressed with Guehi and Stones centre-back Sunday. I thought they grew into the game. You could see there's a bit of nervousness between the two of them, but I think you have to stick with your back line. You don't want to be swapping and changing your centre-back partnership throughout a tournament. You want to stay consistent with that, and I think he will do that with Guehi and Stones, and I think even only Konza is there, but you have to stick with those two at the centre-back options there. But let me know what you think. Give me your thoughts in the comments. Obviously, Harry Kane up front. Now, Harry Kane for me, like I just said before, if he's not scoring goals, you got to think about bringing in Ivan Toney. We've got some good quality on that bench. I looked at Portugal's bench and they've got some quality as well. But we've also got quality on that bench, and I think we need to utilize that, especially in these group stage games as well. There's a lot of football coming around for them, so they've had a long season. So you're gonna have to start swapping and bringing in other options and ideas in the squad as well. So for me, Harry Kane, if he's not on firing, not scoring goals, dash him out the team, man. Bring someone else in, let them have a go. But let's talk about Scotland's hopes, because Scotland are now, after their draw yesterday with Switzerland, it was a very good game. Scotland gave themselves a good account for their fights, their efforts against Switzerland, and were very, very lucky with the goal. I felt it was a really good goal from McTominay. I think they finally gave it to McTominay in the end, but really good start from Scotland. They were pressing on the front foot. They wanted to get the ball and make it difficult for Switzerland as well. I felt that they did that in the right spaces, and I think in the end they'll be happy with the point. I thought, Shaqiri's goal was brilliant. I read today, the first MLS player to score in the Euros, playing for Chicago Fire. Only still 32 years of age, still probably has, a season or two. I thought he could have done that in the European leagues, but if he's doing it abroad, that's fine. He's done really well there. Yeah, and crazy. But another broken nose. I think Fabian Schär last night ended up with a broken nose. We got to see Mbappe with a broken nose as well the other day. Crazy. 2 broken noses in the tournament. I mean, the odds on that would have been 100 to 1 at least. But unfortunate for Kieran Tierney, who looks like he's going to miss the Hungary game, which is a very vital game for Scotland. They must win that game against Hungary in a couple of days' time to be able to give themselves a chance to get out of their group. I think they're going to miss someone like him in the team. But again, Scotland, they've gave themselves a lifeline by just getting that point against Switzerland. So, all for them to play for there in their league. But give me your thoughts on the group stages so far. I mean, that's a quick roundup. We are going to be doing these daily from next week. So make sure if you're into the Euros, you want to get a quick daily bite-sized podcast, this is your place to come. You'll be able to see a lot of episodes coming in. We'll get a couple of guests on as well throughout the tournament, and hopefully, I mean, I'm predicting England or Portugal to win it, so hopefully one of those is right. But let's move away from the Euros slightly for a little bit, because obviously there's been other things happening across the footballing world, and I am going to start with some of the latest news that came out. Andy Jones from the Athletic reporting on Ruud van Nistelrooy has held talks with Burnley over the head coach position. So it goes on to say that Ruud van Nistelrooy has held talks and is in frame to become the club's new head coach. Burnley are searching for their successor to Vincent Kompany, who was appointed as Bayern Munich head coach last month, despite Lancashire's club's relegation from the Premier League. Now, Ruud van Nistelrooy, was at PSV head coach 22-23 season, has won the Dutch Cup at PSV, but then he's obviously resigned regarding lack of support at the club for his reasons for resigning from PSV. He comes in with a good record, I believe, as well from PSV. So this isn't a bad thing for Burnley. I suppose it's a gamble for Van Nistelrooy, because if it doesn't go well, then there's a tarnish on your CV. But I think, there's a good squad there. They're in the Championship. It's a good league for them to try and, bounce back from into the Premier League. And I think Van Nistelrooy can do that with them. But we'll have to see on that fold as well. But other managerial news coming out earlier on today. Colin Miller, again from the Athletic, confirmed that Steve Cooper has been appointed Leicester's manager on a 3-year contract as well. The former Nottingham Forest boss, who departed the City Ground in December, will replace Enzo Marasca at the King Power Stadium now that the Italian has become the head coach at Chelsea. Cooper, who took over at Forest when they were in the Championship in 2021 and guided them back to the Premier League in the playoffs as well, takes over. And I mean, that was crazy, because I think they sacked Hooper when they were 17th midway through the season, Forest. So, he's come out, Steve Cooper, and said that he's really excited and proud to be appointed Leicester's first team manager. The fantastic club with a rich history and passionate supporters. I'm excited to work with such a talented squad, and I'm looking forward to the challenge of achieving our squad ambitions in the Premier League. So I think that's a really good appointment. And I do have to say that Graham Potter, the amount of jobs he was linked with this job. He was linked with Ajax. He was linked with, I think, the United job at one point as well. So he's been linked with all these jobs and turning them down. So I can only think he wants the England job. But also as well, the compensation package from Chelsea is nice. So you can sit back and have a relax for another couple of months until the Euros is done, and you can go and get your England job. I hear you, Graham Potter. But Steve Cooper, Leicester fans, let me know what you think about the appointment there. Me personally, I think it's a really good appointment. I think Steve Cooper is coming into a team that is really balanced, has really good experienced players that have played in the Premier League. Some of them potentially have the progression to get into that level of being a top Premier League player. So he's got some quality in the squad there, some younger players coming through. I'm pretty sure as well, I think Jamie Vardy's renewed his contract for, if not a year, maybe 2. I think it's a year extension. He's got a good squad there, and I think he'll do really well. And I think for Leicester, I think for them, they just want to sustain Premier League status. So when he talks about the ambitions, I'm pretty sure it'll just be to not get relegated. So to me, that's a win-win for Steve Cooper if you can achieve that there. Now let's move over to some other news that came out from the Spurs camp. Now apparently, Heung-min Son has accepted Tottenham teammate Rodrigo Bentancur's apology for using a racial slur whilst having an interview for Uruguayan TV. Bentancur apologized after saying that the South Korean international and his cousin all looked the same during the TV broadcast. He said during the show, while laughing, Sonny or a cousin of Sonny, they all look the same. Bentancur posted on his social media account after the incident, "Sorry, brother. I'm sorry for what happened. It was a joke in bad taste. You know that I love you and I would never disrespect or hurt you in any way. I love you, brother." There's too many brothers in there for this apology to be sincere, in my opinion. And it's mental, because I know in football, changing rooms, I've been in them, I've been amongst them, I've been around them, I've been in them. And I know there's a lot of banter. Sometimes it's racial banter, like it is. If you've been in a football, anyone who's played football at any level, Sunday league to whatever, you will have heard some racial banter. Whether that's even a thing, I don't think that's even a flipping thing, racial banter, but you would have heard some racist undertones or something in the changing room, and everyone passes it off as banter. If you remember, I think Bernardo Silva called was it Balotelli? He called someone a monkey. Was it Yaya Toure? He called Yaya Toure like a black monkey or something, if you remember a couple of seasons ago, and had to apologize. Like, come on, man. This is mad. And I'm not saying that Benton Kerr is right at all. He's not. He's in the wrong here, but we also have to apply a bit of context to certain things as well. Um, so yeah, that one's mad to me, if I'm honest. But look, worse things are happening in football. There's been worse things said. Man are getting bananas thrown at them on the pitch. The media at the moment are putting Saka on the back pages. If England lose tonight, you can guarantee Saka's on the back page of them papers. Even if he has a 10 out of 10, he's on the back pages. So there's a lot more worse things for me personally going on in the world than that. So sorry, son, that happened to you. Benton Kerr called you a brother 4 or 5 times. You're gonna have to get over that one. You're gonna have to get over that one. But let's move on. Let's end on a high. Now, before we wrap up, 2 more pieces of transfer news. Now, the first one being around a deal that seems to have been agreed for Ian Maatsen to go to Aston Villa, which is a massive, massive thing for Aston Villa. Obviously, for them being able to get someone like Ian Maatsen for a deal, I mean, you can't go wrong. David Ornstein broke this news yesterday. Aston Villa have agreed a deal for Chelsea to sign left back Ian Maatsen with a 35 million release clause in Maatsen's contract, specifically only for Borussia Dortmund, has now expired. Now, if you remember, Borussia Dortmund put in a bid for around 28 million a couple of weeks ago for Ian Maatsen that was rejected by Chelsea. Chelsea have then said that the clause is the clause, Dortmund, you've got to pay that piece or you're not getting them. Let's not forget, Dortmund have still got the big P from Jude Bellingham, the big Ps from Erling Haaland. They're scrimping over 2 or 3 million when they need that sort of player who's just been there and has done them a job to get them to the Champions League final. So for me, I would have paid the money. But in terms of Villa, it looks like they've secured their man. Uma Emre is a huge admirer of the 22-year-old and wants to recruit him ahead of next season when the West Midlands side compete in the Champions League for the first time. Maatsen's terms at Chelsea had been scheduled to end in June 2025, but they were extended for 12 months in January after the extension was confirmed. Chelsea sent Maatsen on loan to Dortmund, where he established himself as one of their better players this season. So I do think Dortmund have dropped the ball on that one for me personally. I feel like he's a really good player. It's a win-win for Chelsea because they got more than their actual release clause, which I think is in the region of 38 million, which Villa have agreed. Personal terms don't seem to be an issue with Maatsen and Villa either. And this is obviously pure profit for Chelsea when the PSR over their heads at the moment in terms of financial fair play and trying to get pure profit. So this seems to be the right course of action that Chelsea are trying to go in that direction. Now, the other bit of Chelsea news before we wrap up, Michael Olise, Crystal Palace are keen to try and nail down Michael Olise on a further extension of his contract, which will mean a further release clause in there, which means that Chelsea will have to pay more money for their player that they want. Now, I'm going to be honest, maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I do feel that Chelsea will still go out and activate that release clause regardless of the fee for Olise. This might be Crystal Palace trying to cash in a little bit more. But also as well, we have to remember, Olise doesn't have to sign a contract. He's still under contract. I think he's still got a couple more years. I think he even just signed a contract last year. So he doesn't necessarily have to sign a deal if he doesn't want to. It sounds like personal terms won't be an issue for Chelsea and Olise. But, you know, what an addition to Chelsea if they can get him through the door. And also that might spell the end of maybe Noni Madueke, maybe Mikhailo Mudryk, we never know. But that's one to be seen. We're going to be doing a lot more transfer episodes over the next couple of weeks, as I said in the last episode. Also, as I said, doing the bite-sized Euro daily podcast from next week. So make sure you tune into all of those. We're going to try and fit in a couple of watch-alongs as well along the way. Make sure you tune in. Make sure you're here. And yeah, man, don't forget to subscribe. Smash the subscribe button. Smash the like button. And all of those things there. This has been Theo, Starler Play Football. Until next time, man, stay safe. And thank you very much for watching.